What are we up to today? Well, nothing special really, it's just a bit of maintenance. But something is happening. The coral we're swimming is 148 days away. Now, that of course means I've already missed out on my booking for a cabin, so I'm going to be camping it. But we did get a couple of powered campsites, which we're going to need because we're going. Now, that means I have a whole heap of things to do before I go, namely rebuilding my gearbox and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we are taking the Argo, and that's been accepted as well, so we might be able to be part of the flotilla and get involved, because they, among military vehicles, they also like amphibious vehicles that they swim in, hence the name. Now, what that means is I need to do a bit of maintenance. Now, at my recent trip to Gippsland, or South Gippsland Tank Adventures, my GoPro mount got ripped off, and in the field I had to improvise and attach this with a bit of fencing wire. I also tried, after this detached through the work of my handy apprentice, right before I was going to go on the Centurion tank, the one that costs a lot. So right before that, she dropped it and busted all this off. So I've got a few broken mounts. I may have to replace some. I don't have any spare sticky pads for this contoured head here. I did try and drill a hole through here in the field, which you'll see a bit of a clip off the side here. So while I'm trying to do that, I discovered that this is actually hardened steel, which is to be expected from a genuine helmet. What's not genuine is the lining that I had to improvise. And also one of the clips here I had to sort of improvise as well. We might replace that for some better strapping in the future. But this is my GoPro mount for helmet mounted stuff, and for something I'll probably need. So I'm going to chop all this off, and we're going to find a way to attach this. This is the first thing we're going to do. I also have to fix a GoPro mount, which I have over here somewhere. Let's open up my bright yellow case, which has got all my GoPro stuff. My brand new mount, which is one of these ones. I don't recall which, for GoPros. I think it's the GoPro 7 mount. You can probably see here there's a big crack. I'm not sure if I can repair that or whether I have to replace it, but we'll give it a good crack and see if we can make it useful again. It is relatively okay in that it still fits into this bracket, and this rim around here holds everything mostly square. So I still don't want to lose like $500 or $600 worth of camera to that. I also have to clean all the other mounts. They're covered from top to bottom in mud. This is just the small stuff. Later on I'm going to move on to some vehicle things and that. So this time we're just going to have a crack at the helmet. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is pull this off, and I'm going to have a go at some epoxy as opposed to actually drilling through it. I did think about getting a masonry bit and regrinding it and using oil and all that sort of stuff, but I thought, you know what, for the sake of a 2mm screw, I'm probably going to get better adhesion using epoxy. So we'll try that, and that's a nice rough surface anyway. So let's get things arranged. We'll start with this bracket, we'll give it a clean up, and then see if we can get some glue onto the GoPro bracket. Right, so now we're going to have a crack at the crack on this Kraken thing. Mount, that's the word. I'm actually quite tired at the moment and fairly lethargic. Side effects of MS is after a long weekend like Tank Adventures, you're off air for about a week. We might put a blob of this blue tack down here, hold our workpiece nicely, and we have a tube of this stuff that I prepared earlier. So I want to sort of get a good plan of attack, because once you put this stuff on here, you're pretty well done. Now, in a normal situation, I might be tempted to knock this little pin out here and take the back door off, but I'm thinking if I keep the glue suitably away from that face, I should be able to swing this around and shut this on here and have that hold everything in position nicely. And that might do the job. And so I can probably get it onto a surface in this position relatively easily. So moment of truth and point of no return, guys. I'm going to run from the top here in the hope that gravity pulls it downwards. I'm going to buy a new one of these guys, but it's worth trying to fix it because currently it's a weekend. So let's pull that into position. Let's put the lid back on so we don't waste all of that, and let's clip this into position and see if it holds. Alright, so it's not quite holding the position I want, but I'm going to hold that there like so. Now I am tempted to put a camera in here so that everything is exactly the right spot, but this stuff's such an awesome glue that I'm a little afraid that if I put a camera in here I might end up with a camera permanently glued into a bracket. That is not quite ideal. Problem also with this glue is it tends to wick into things, so I'm a bit worried it might wick its way into that hinge and stick it up. Anyway, we're going to hold this for a little bit, and I'm going to go off camera because this will take a long time and it's very boring, and we'll be back once I have some sort of result with this. While that's setting, we're going to work on the helmet. So let's work on this bit. For a start, we're going to cut this tie wire off here. Going to get rid of all of that, and it's going to unstick it from here. The scrim cloth used to be all the way over, but when I attached this piece here, I trimmed a little bit out and solidified it with super glue. Hindsight, probably not the best idea, but you know, it was what we had at the time. Anyway, scrim cloth I can get easily. That's modern replica scrim cloth. It's not genuine stuff. So we're going to get this stuff out as well. Yeah, this could be a bit of a challenge to get all this out, especially the way I did it. Made the actual bracket kind of hard to remove. So we can probably work this bit of tie wire out first. We might be able to remove our bracket. If we can get this out, I might have to do the other side too. I think I will. But this was all done in a hurry between rides, because I only had the one day there. I had 2 days of driving in between all of that. Can we get this bit of wire out? Going. There we go. Right. In theory, this should come out more easily now. Alright, so what I'd done here is I'd actually originally drilled a hole in the middle here and countersunk it to put a screw through, which turned out to be not possible. Then I thought if I put a hole in each end, I can hook a piece of wire through and pull it through. But what we're going to do, we're going to pull all this original sticky pad off, which was useless the moment it touched the dirt. So, and this one's a special little contoured one, especially for helmets. It's the only one I got given in the kit, so I may go buy a new kit of parts in the near future. But let's get this all cleaned off and see where we can go from there. Apologise for that horrible sound in the background. It's getting quite warm in my workshop, so I've been using a bit of cool air in. Now, See if we can get this off with a bit of contact cleaner. I might remove it from the inside. We'll see. See if we can peel it off gently without leaving residue. We'll be really lucky if we can. This stuff usually works as a pretty good glue solvent for this stuff. We'll try. I'm probably doing this a little off camera, so let's bring our camera back around here a bit. You can see my whiskers in the edge of the camera. Most of the time, guys, I don't actually look through the viewfinder when I'm filming this stuff, so consequently you will notice in some of my videos there's the camera work is not exactly square on, or there's things that sort of happen a little bit off the edge of the camera. There's a good quality sticky pads, but fortunately it's only sticking on the one side, and I don't want to add adhesive back onto the other side of this pad. And there we go, I've broken the pad, but that's alright. If I add glue straight to this, I'm pretty much just going to have the same problem again. The foam itself will let go, and that won't help. There's a trick I've always used for years of just rolling my thumb along the edge of these things. It seems to work very effectively, getting these things off in one piece. But it is a bit of a technique and requires a bit of strength in the hands, which fortunately I still have. Disease has not claimed that from me yet. So I'll work on that. Alright, it seemed to be the easier way to get it off without the solvent. Alright, we've got a good clean surface there. Well, sort of. Clean enough for araldite anyway. We'll roll my finger across that. Now I'm probably going to grab a bit of sandpaper and give this a quick sand up, just to help the araldite stick a little bit better, and to clean off any oils and debris that's already on there. So let's find some sandpaper. Alright, I found some sandpaper. I'll get this piece of tie wire out of the way, because I can see that's going to cause some havoc one way or another later, and all these little bits I'm having trouble picking up. Throw them straight in the bin before they get walked on. Alright, so let's take a piece of this sandpaper here, and we'll give this a nice little roughen up on the inside here. And this is, what grade is this? This is made in China grade, waterproof abrasive paper. I think it's something like a 300 grit, although grit systems have seemed to be about as variable as American Freedom units as well. I understand them about the same amount. In fact, I think I understand Freedom units a smidgen better than sandpaper grits. It's just to increase the surface area, to increase glue bonding a little bit. We'll have a crack at that. So that is not perfectly roughened up, but it's certainly going to get a better grip than just a plain out glossy plastic fitting. I'll put that over there out of the way. Alright, let's clear our workspace and find a way to prep some araldite, because prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. Let's have a look here. We need a sheet of paper. What was this? This was my Land Rover bed area profile that went to, I don't know, went to hell I guess. Ended up doing something totally different when I went down to my friend the guy at the kitchen joint and got a piece of timber that he had a much better, much more simple solution for it, which I appreciated. Alright, let's find our araldite. We'll open this up after it's been sitting in the sun. Actually, we'd better take super glue out of the sun too. Cyanoacrylate glues do not like being left in the sun or getting hot. They're best kept in a dark fridge. Alright, we'll get rid of that. Let's keep our instructions, because it's been a little while since I've screwed with epoxy, and Loctite tend to do things a smidge differently. Alright, before we even open this tube, we're going to want a tool to work with it. Something I can throw away. Let me have a look, I'll be back. Find something. Found some Macca's packets. I know I keep looking away from the camera and that screws the audio up. I've been actually a little bit naughty lately. I've been getting a fair bit of Macca's, but they deliver now. Like, why did Macca's never ever deliver before? It's a bloody great idea. It took a pandemic for them to have an intelligent idea, but it's great. I'm not arguing with it in the slightest. I don't terribly like going out a lot of the time, because, you know, people and stuff, and there is some speculation that maybe I've got Asperger's or autism or something like that. I was diagnosed quite young with ADHD, but I think that wasn't the case, because medication certainly didn't help. I think they had the diagnosis a little wrong. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to fold these up, convert these into some nice little epoxy working tools. These are thankfully very disposable. Now I should probably compact my bin down and make room for them too, so I don't end up with epoxy in the carpet. Alright, I'm going to just pretend here for best results that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to read the instructions. So I don't know if you can see that. The viewfinder is really glared out from all the sun. For best results, lightly sand the surfaces prior to bonding. Make sure they're clean, dry, free of dust, blah, 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 blah. Standard stuff. Can wipe them with spirits. Yep, that's alright. Lunch is trying to come back up on me. Alright, place a resealable cap on one side, or to one side. Remove the instant mix nozzles by sliding towards the tip of the syringe. Okay, yep, I see. Push the instant mix nozzle down onto the syringes past the prongs. Rotate 90 degrees to lock in. Oh, okay, put the nozzles on. Really? Oh, we've got two nozzles. Okay, so we've got two shots at this. That's alright. And just apply it directly. You don't have to mix it. Alright, well that is actually handy. Okay, so I've got, I haven't used these pre-mixed ones before. I've always had to mix it. So take one of them, and I guess we go and that snaps off. It does. Well, okay, there's already stuff in here. Wow. Alright, and that's like a cam lock fitting. I see. Well, that's definitely epoxy. It smells like it. Okay, so I guess we go and get the helmet. And you know, all my plans have gone awry. So I probably won't need those guys, and those can get out of the way. Let's do this. Oh, I almost had some poor performance there. I might not have prepared prior to this properly. So here's our helmet. Here's our little thing we plan to stick on. Okay, so I think it might be prudent to apply to this side first. Let's have a go. Let's push this and watch all these things all mix themselves together with those little, I don't know what to call them in there anyway. I'm going to apply just a nice little layer of this stuff on here. Little bit like thermal paste, in the hope that it sort of spreads out. And we'll put a little bit of negative pressure on there just to stop it coming out. Set that aside for a moment. Now the bit that I didn't prepare for is how to fit this on without getting it all over my fingers, but I guess that's just going to be the price of doing this. Can you guys see what we're doing? Let's come up here a bit. You can have a better look at what's going on. I'm going to tuck this under here carefully and put that in like so. And hopefully it's going to push up through the holes a bit. That's alright. Alright. Now the other bit that I probably forgot to prepare for is how to actually position this properly. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit my helmet up against my workbench like that, get that nice and square, and let it sit. Now I'm going to pack up the epoxy. Right, now the bit that I didn't really read in any great detail is how long does this take to set? Adhesive is workable for approximately 3 minutes, or set in 5 minutes at 23°C. What's 24.5 in here? So I think we'll be pretty close to our 5 minutes before set. Use adhesive tapes or clamps to hold in position. Bonded items can be handled after 15 minutes. Allow 2 hours before rough handling. That'll be alright. So while we do everything else, that should take probably about 5 minutes. So let's try that. I'm waiting for that. I'm going to see how well the super glue held up here, because if it doesn't hold up all that well, I might use some of that epoxy whilst I've still got the tube open and before that second nozzle gets wasted. There's a lot of epoxy in there. Right, that seems to be fairly solidly in place. So I think I'm just going to leave that to get to full hardness. That looks pretty good. And the door hasn't lost any mobility, so that's good. Everything lines up nice and square. So I think I'll leave that super glue to bond properly. This bracket's looking pretty good. So I think I'll leave that sit, and I'll go and see what else we can do to prepare. But mostly this is about GoPro mounts, this particular video. We are going to move all of this. Trying to work out if I can push any of this out to use as a metric as to whether or not it's set. I should have put a blob on the table, but anyway, I'm going to put this out of the weather into a cool dark place, as well as my other super glue, and it's not much for me to do but to wait for now. So we'll be back after I've waited. So it's time to pull the helmet down. So it's been about 20 minutes or so, and it's actually on quite solidly now, so that's going to be fairly good. I reckon after about 15 minutes it's good for rough handling. So that is actually on considerably better than just the sticky pad was. I feel like I'm not going to lose my gear so much. Now this stuff around the edge here, I'll probably daub a little bit more super glue on that just to solidify everything to keep it looking neat. But for now it works okay, and we can put our mounting block back on here as well. If I do that, should be on fairly good. So I'm going to let this set properly over a day or so, but that's going to work all right. I can mount my GoPro mount on here. Let's have a look at what our GoPro 7 mount is looking like. That's not too bad. That looks quite strong. So I'm not unhappy with the bond there with that glue. So I will be purchasing another one of these, but this gives me a little bit more confidence that I'm not going to lose my gear in the meantime. And I have my good old magnet mount where I stuck a big old, very, very old hard drive magnet on here with just hot glue. And it's actually been very, very good. The bond of the hot glue exceeds the strength of the magnet, so even on big, heavy armored plates. So I'm pretty happy with that. I will probably attach a small safety lanyard through one of these rings at some point on the side here too. Not quite sure how I'm going to achieve that, but I think that's something I should look into whilst I'm doing all this. So let me go see what I can find. So I had a long and hard think about it. I think I'm going to use a little bit of this wire. Because of the dynamic nature of how I place this, I don't really want to be having to juggle a string permanently, but I do have a lot of clips. Wow, there's a lot of dirt and mud still under there. I should have disassembled that when I cleaned it. Anyway, so I thought I might make a little lanyard ring. There is like a tripod mount in the bottom of this, but that's okay. I've got a lot of little carabiners on Dyneema rope, little 2mm Dyneema stuff. That rope is more than strong enough to destroy the clip and most things that it's attached to. And in fact, I actually string my entire body weight off it in my hammock off a 2mm strand. And so yeah, we're doing pretty well. So, and I think I'm 140 kilos at this point. I need to, well, that's when I get weighed for my infusions and I've got all my junk on me, which I think I've got about 6 or 8 kilos of junk on me. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, I'm going to make a little ring through here. I think I might solder the ends of this together. So have a crack at this. And we'll bloody put all that on there. Alright, so I think what we'll do, we'll get that right, and I'll get some solder onto the job, and then I can reshape that ring to suit our needs. And that should just provide a little safety lanyard loop, so that if I have a problem and the magnet comes loose, it doesn't end up getting run over by a tracked vehicle or something silly. Now, the problem with this is I'd like to use my soldering iron for this, but I don't think it'll get hot enough. And I'm going to need a rubber band, which I don't have access to. So, blue tack it is. So I know blue tack will hold up to the temperature. I'm going to use a pair of pliers there, hopefully as a heatsink. We will find some solder and a stoner torch. Alright, a stoner torch that's got a safety lock. My apprentice has been in here again. Right, see if we can get this hot enough to melt a little bit of solder on here. Bit of flux burning there. Alright, that worked pretty well. Sounds like my apprentice is in trouble again. I'd better go investigate while this cools. Alright, things appear to have cooled off slightly. Let's open this up and see what we got. Alright, now this big fat ring like this could get in the way of things. My apprentice again is causing mischief. Now the problem with doing this is there's such a big magnet and I've got a pair of pliers, is it sticks onto the pliers all the time. So it's one of the things I was worried about, the ring. Hold on a moment. Good apprentices can be hard to find. That's what I am going to say about that little interruption. I'm not sure how much of the background noise you guys can hear. I've been told by some of you that you can hear quite well. But with a lot of my videos I don't comprehensively go and review them. So anyway, this should be a suitable enough ring, I guess. I need to probably increase the radius slightly. That should be good. That should at least give me something I can hang out the side here. I do need to increase that radius slightly because it doesn't freely swivel. Yeah, that's a bit better. And I guess that can tuck under there, but that gives me a little safety lanyard to work with. I may end up cutting that off in the field, but at least it's easy to do. In fact, I might even straighten these two loops out just a little bit, and that can tuck down the side there and stay out of the way if I need it to. Anyway, that will work. We can put our GoPro mount there, and that will work for that one. Alright, so we might check back in a few hours about this one, and we might do a quick little helmet test with the full load on there, but I'll give it a couple of hours before we start messing with that. Alright, so I will see you guys back in a few hours, but through the magic of video, it'll be somewhere about now. Okay, so about an hour's passed and it's time to start to refit all these bits and pieces. Now I'm going to mount the GoPro a little higher than I normally would. I'm going to mount it up here. And yes, that gives me a good position that I can go right down like that with. That's what we're after. Now we need a locking screw, which I have a spare somewhere. Correction, had a spare. I think I feel one of my spare bits section. That looks like one right here. Here we go. Alright, let's have a look here. Can we get this in? Well, some people would say getting it in is a problem, and I would say getting things out is a bigger problem. Alright, so let's open this up. See if it takes the weight of a GoPro. Let's take my Hero 7. I have a couple of these. I have a good old Hero 5 black as well, which you can sort of see there. They both need a good clean up, so we might go and do that in a moment as well. Alright, will this hold? Super glue and all. It appears that it's going to hold nicely. Alright, so we're going to do a quick little film here. I'm going to fire this up and I'm going to show you a little GoPro trick that I found out. Now, there are voice controls on these things. If I go, "That was sick," it'll add a highlight. Now, this one's probably not family safe, but if I go, "Oh shit," let's try it again. "Oh shit," it adds a highlight too. There's some little secret keywords. GoPro, stop recording. It should turn off now. GoPro, turn off. There we go. Cool. Handy little voice controls for those. So, let's knock this off here. Now we'll take these down and we'll give them a clean up as well. Alright, let's go back down to the laundry sink. Now my apprentice may not be strictly happy with me right now because she's currently using the water. So I'm just going to use the hot water cautiously and before it gets too hot that it starts causing problems with the GoPros. You just want some of this mud off the side of it. I'm not using any soap for this, I'm just using a little bit of friction and the hot water pressure dropped. Probably means she's compensating at the other end. Now I'm not doing anything crazy to clean these, I'm just using my fingers in a bit of water. I'm keeping clear of the lens area. I'll use some glasses cleaner to get that nice and clean. I don't want to abrade that surface. Alright, so they look pretty good here. Yep, I think we'll be right. Let's go dry them off. So we're drying these off with a good cotton cloth. Nice soft one. And just a bit of gentle wipe across the screen. And I'm just using a dabbing action around the other screens here rather than getting in and rubbing. We just want to absorb the water off here, which should then evaporate on its own pretty quickly. Plus this rubberized texture here, you don't really want to abrade that too much. It does come off. Reminiscent of the old Microsoft mice or the old IBM computers. Do have a little bit of dirt stuck on here. It's a bit of a stubborn one. I'm going to give that a bit of a forceful wipe here. This doesn't really affect the quality of the image, it just affects the quality of how I am perceived, or my image I guess. If I show up with dirty camera gear, like, it doesn't look good. Alright, so I think we're about done actually. So we've got all our GoPro stuff here. We might pull this up, we might get a good thumbnail off the end of the video here if I leave everything in this position for a little while. So that might create a good thumbnail for us. And I'll leave it sit here. We'll yak for a couple of minutes. You can skip past this bit if you want. This is just to make the video a smidgen longer and give me plenty of time to generate a thumbnail from this little section of video. But anyway, if you guys appreciate this video, I'm sure, let me have a chat to me. If you've got some ideas about GoPro stuff, by all means have a comment. One thing I will be doing in the near future is I am searching for a microphone adapter for these guys. Unlike the 3s and the 4s, you can't just plug a microphone straight into them. You need a special hardware device that connects by USB-C. But once that's done, I am going to add a microphone boom to this. So when I'm out on the Argo and doing some crazy stuff, you'll actually be able to hear me talk clearly over all the conducted noise through the internal pickups on these. So yeah, anyway, we're going to call this video quits. I think I've rambled long enough. And yeah, have a chat to me in the comments if you like. I'm sure people have better ways of doing stuff. They always do. And most of it's actually kind of useful to know. So, see you all in the next one. Have fun, guys.